This is Melody Federer, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Melody Federer, a singer-songwriter.
Yeah, she was promoting her September of 2023 release of Chapters from the Fairy Tale.
Yeah, we also talked a little about, so she worked with Burt Bacharach back in 2020 on a couple singles.
Yeah, fantastic interview.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
All right, good night.
Good night. Melody, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Melody, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeff. How's it going?
Well, great. We're so excited to have you tonight. Let's get right into it. This past September of 2023, you released your second full-length album, Chapters from the Fairy Tale. Talk a little bit more about the methodology it took to create this new musical endeavor.
It was a lot of years in the making and a lot of cities I've lived in, and I think each song is sort of like a chapter from the fairy tale, as in life, you know, full of drama and dragons and dreams and hopes for true love and heartbreak, and so I would kind of collect the songs over the years and then record them in different cities, and then they kind of all just came together. All the different styles and influences came together in this album.
Oh, very good.
In the when you were just talking about the new album, you had said some of the songs were a little bit older. That's one of the things I like when we're talking to some of these artists. When you find out, like, you know, what's one of the oldest tracks that you have on the new album?
Oh my gosh, what a great question! I think Wonder Years was what started the entire. Actually, Wonder Years isn't on the album. What am I saying? No, Wonder Years was supposed to be on the album, and that's what kind of started garnering interest. I would send that demo around, and then it became a single, but the label said it was a little too country for the album. So the actual album, This Town, would be the oldest.
Nice.
Oh, very good. Well, speaking of This Town, it's my favorite track on the album. Can you talk about? Yeah, can you give our listeners a little bit more information about the writing and recording process for that track?
Yeah, it's always so cool, like the evolution of a song.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like for me, it just comes from somewhere, you know, either my subconscious or, you know, the universe or God or who knows. It just comes when I'm doing something. And I remember I was putting something in the oven in Nashville and I was feeling super restless. It was winter and I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I got pregnant unexpectedly when I was pretty young. And so I had a young baby, and I was not married, and I was trying to figure it all out with the dad. He and I aren't together anymore, but it was like we weren't really meant to be together. I think she was meant to be, but he and I, we just were like fire and ice. And so it was kind of this time of like, God, like I want to be here, but I also want to get away. Like, and so that was, this town always looks better when I'm leaving. Like if I could just get some space, I could get some perspective, but there was no chance for space. You're just in it. And also I think it was about Nashville a little bit, well, and Seattle, because I actually wrote that song in both those cities. But Nashville, there's so much talent. I found it intimidating at times. And so I kind of like hide away and not really put myself out there because I was always comparing myself to others at the time. But when I would leave, I would think, man, Nashville really is awesome. I am excited to get back. So that's a bit of the origin of that song.
Oh, very good. Jeff?
I think another one I liked was Falling Out. Do you have a story behind that one?
I do, actually. I'm a songwriter along with being an artist. So I both write for myself, and I'm always trying to write for others and for film and TV. And I was trying to write for this country artist, actually. Yeah. And so I came up with this idea with my buddy TJ, and we're like, oh, this is really strong, but she just like, it wasn't her thing. And so we're like, you know what, this is a really cool song. And we wrote it kind of from ourselves. And so he just threw a bunch of synths on and the drums and just made it into this pop anthem.
Oh, very good.
Can you talk a little bit from the aspect of a songwriter of writing songs for yourself versus writing a song for other people?
You know, I want to say that it's like different, but honestly, like everybody wants the best song. So if I wrote a song for myself and it was like amazing, somebody else would want it. That's the thing. That's the tricky thing. And like for a song to be good, I think, then again, I haven't written like a smash yet. I can't wait to know. I hope I get to know what that feels like someday, to write just like an undeniable hit. Like that's the goal, right? You know? But I know I've always like lived by this quote that is, I think it's an Emerson quote, like if you can trust the truth of your own experience, like that's universal. And so if I just write from a very honest place, that's going to resonate. And so I kind of gotta be the same in both instances. But just try and like, if there's an artist there, let them take the lead and let them write from the honest place and just kind of like be a guiding force and help, cheer them on kind of.
Fantastic. Yeah. So when it comes to 2024, what are your plans to support the new album? Touring, traditional touring, or are you playing regional shows? What are the plans?
We're working on that. I just signed with an awesome new manager, Jason Spiewak and Noble Steed. You guys have probably been in touch with them. They're really awesome. And so, they're working on trying to line some of that up. I can't wait to get this baby on the road.
Oh, fantastic.
I love this. I love this like rapid fire. It's so awesome.
Is it rapid fire? We wanted to make it more like it's like a conversation than it is a rapid fire. So if we're going too fast, let us know.
No, I actually really like it. It's nice because you don't have time to overthink things. But I feel bad I'm not asking you guys any questions, but I mean, I guess we can get to that later.
This is all about you, not about us. Nobody wants to hear our voices. So, but I guess when it comes to the Melody Federer music vault, as far as songs that you have stowed away somewhere and they haven't been released yet, do you have a vault of unreleased material that you're just waiting for the right time?
Oh yeah, oh my gosh, I probably have like 1,000 unreleased songs. I'm not even joking, but I am kind of sitting on a collection that I think is like coming together and that's kind of special. And so I'm hoping to kind of start getting that going, next year. More like in the alt pop vein, like a little more like I guess it's just a little more pop, like a little less leaning pop, honestly.
Very good. I guess, when it comes to your songwriting approach, every artist that we've spoke to over the years of doing this, everybody has a different approach to their songwriting. For you, do you have a strict methodology when it comes to writing new music?
The only methodology I have is if an idea comes, it's my responsibility to catch it. Like if this is my vocation, which I think it is, like in a weird way, like it's just what I've been doing since I was a child. I've been writing songs. Like I feel like it's just what I'm here to do. And so if I get an idea, even if it's like in the middle of the night, it's like my job to at least do the bare minimum and grab the phone and hit record and capture it. Like, and if I feel inspiration, like it's up to me to get that down, or I can't be mad if I hear that idea somewhere else, because I didn't, but I do think there are ideas that I'll like. I read that book, Big Magic. Have you guys heard of it?
I have not.
No.
It's by Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote the Eat, Pray, Love book.
Okay, yeah.
Well, she says this thing that actually really helped me because I just used to get so many ideas. I found it overwhelming, and I'd feel kind of guilty that I wasn't finishing them all or getting them all out there, and it would just be like, But she kind of talked about how she thinks ideas like kind of like visit creatives or come to us all, and you kind of accept it, or it will like move on to someone else who's ready. And that's why like sometimes you'll see songs like come out and they're like, oh, that song has the same title as that song, or this song sounds like that song, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I guess that would take us to the next question is, when it comes to your songwriting, do you have other artists that influence you on your songwriting, or do you feel as though that you're your own, I guess maybe your perspective on songwriting is you yourself. There's nobody influencing you from the outside.
Well, I can say that, but I mean, like, I don't know, like I'd have ideas as a kid, even when I was little, but I'm sure I'd heard music up to that point that I don't even remember, lullabies and church hymns or whatever, so it's like maybe the melody and words come from us, but like, because I feel like a lot of songs and artists, what differentiates them honestly in the end is like production.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, and instruments. Like really what the song is it's the melody and the lyrics. Well, and like I guess the rhythm. But it's like so when it comes to songwriting, I don't know. I don't know who influences me. It must be just like the whole amalgamation of everything I've ever heard.
It's really strange because we talk to many artists, and a lot of artists will say, I shut the world off when it comes to songwriting.
Yeah, like they can't listen to any other music while they're writing.
Yeah, so and then we have other artists that say, I listen to everything. It helps me with my songwriting. So are you in like all of the above when it comes to that?
Yeah, I don't ever stop myself from listening to anything that I feel like listening to. And if I'm like stuck on something, I'm like, I should keep listening to this because I feel like it's like seeping into my subconscious and becoming part of my like toolbox. Like I've been listening to the Tate McRae album like nonstop. Have you guys heard it?
I have not. No.
Oh my gosh, it is like it's like a pop masterpiece. It's Ryan Tedder, and it's just like, dang, they really nailed it. And so I'm like, oh, the more I can listen to this, I'm hoping it's just like seeps into my just being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we kind of talked about Seattle and Nashville, but you've also lived in some pretty exotic places, New York and Paris and Los Angeles. Can you kind of compare and contrast, how those cities have influenced your songwriting?
Ooh, that's like the best question ever. Gosh. Well, in Texas, my dad was a pastor, so I was very influenced by like church music. He's not anymore, but and then in St. Louis, it was like, I feel like oldies. And then when I moved to New York, it was jazz. And when I moved to Paris, I fell in love with this French piano player that I met in New York, and he convinced me to move to Paris. and I'd been broke and cold in New York City, and I was 20, and I was sick of living there. And he convinced me to move with him to Paris, and we played on the street and in the cafes, and
Nice.
I learned so much during that time because he was like a lifelong born and bred true musician. Like his dad had been a musician, his grandfather, you know, he was surrounded by like legends, like the Sidney Bechet's son was our drummer, and I made out with Django Reinhardt's son at one point, and there was just always like these legends, and he would make me listen to like the greats in slow motion and learn to do things exactly like them. Like I remember he'd make me listen to Edith Piaf, like slow down to this crazy slow speed because he wanted me to like really learn how to like sing it the way she did. Or he'd make me listen, well, he didn't make me, but he asked me to listen to like Ray Charles and super slow motion Louis Armstrong to try and like learn how to swing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I got so much out of Paris. And then LA, it's where I first started. I played on the street, I played in a piano lounge, and I got my first real manager, and he introduced me to songwriting for others. And so then I learned about like sessions and pop music, and then in Nashville, it was kind of back to the roots of like Texas, of like James Taylor, and kind of gospel influenced and country, and mixed with the pop. And then in Seattle, it was like very alt grunge. And then, you know, and then the album, it kind of, I feel like, hopefully just put all of that kind of together into like a nice album.
Yeah, very good. I wanted to bring this back to Nashville, and a lot of artists that we interview, they live in Nashville, and some of them are
a lot of good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. But we get mixed signals from them as far as some artists feel like it's oversaturated for them to get a fair shot down in Nashville. Others feel like, this is where I belong. For you, what is your take on Nashville?
Wow, such a good question. Oh, that's a really good question. I felt how they felt at first. First time I was in Nashville, I felt very intimidated, and then like almost to the point of shutting down. Like I didn't even want to play shows. I stopped considering myself an artist at all. I was like, I'm just a songwriter, and I don't even know if I'm that good at that. Like it really does mess with your confidence because people here, they're just like, they've been doing it forever. And when you're a young girl, it's like, I don't know. But I think that's why, like, I didn't really get an artist start till I moved out to Seattle, and I was completely isolated, honestly. It was like during COVID, and that's when, you know, like, I kind of tuned out everybody, and I was just in my bedroom with my guitar and writing songs and posting videos, and I guess it felt like I got my confidence back. And then I really missed co-writing, and I came back now. I had to decide where's the best place to raise my daughter, because it's just like, it's the two of us. I mean, her dad's in the picture, but meaning I'm a single mom. And so I was like, do I go to LA, New York, or Nashville? And I thought Nashville was the best for her. And I think I've just come back with a more humble perspective where I'm just grateful to be able to do this and be in the room. You know, I got pretty kicked down during the pandemic. Like great things happened, but also like my music career really took a halt with royalties stopping and everything shifting, and I had to work some crazy jobs. Like, and so I just thought, am I ever gonna be feel like a songwriter again? And then now I'm like here, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like it. Maybe I'm not the best, but at least I'm in the mix. You know, and it's like a creative playground. If you put forth the effort, there's somebody who wants to write with you. There's so many talented people, you know.
Absolutely, Jeff. Go ahead.
Well, I saw back in, I think on your website back in September, you did a show with Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about performing, before Pat?
Yeah. that was so cool. I had an agent at APA who was really great, AJ Paul, and he really went to bat for me on getting me shows when a lot of people think, oh, single mom, like she can't play shows, she can't tour, and he didn't think that, and I was so thankful because it is possible, and if you have a support system, and she has her father, and anyway, but I don't know when you saw that post. It might have been earlier than that post was. Maybe that was like a repost, but
yeah, sorry.
I got the.
Yeah, it was from 21.
Oh,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I just didn't want to it makes the story make sense if it was like right around when everybody had to get vaccines.
Yeah.
It was like super important, and I was really scared of the vaccine because my parents are so conservative, and they're like, oh, it's gonna kill you. They were very anti-vax, and so I was super scared. And my sister, on the other hand, works in public health, and she's like, come on, like, oh my gosh, get the freaking vax. And then this show comes up, and it's like, oh my gosh, you get to open for Pat Benatar, but you have to get the vax, and or you can't. Like, it's absolutely mandatory if for anyone who opens for them. And so I was like, I go to the clinic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm like, all right, it's worth it. Got it. Didn't die. Although I did think my face had stopped working for a minute. I was like, is my face, did like the 1% happen? Is my face paralyzed? Like I was going through Panera. I'm like, my mouth feels weird. So I went back to the clinic and I saw who are the people, the medics? I'm like, I think there's something wrong. They're like, nah, you're fine. And so then when I got to the show, you still have to take a COVID test, and it was like, please pass. And then I got on stage, and it was like the best joke I ever got to make, because I was like, I was really scared to get the vax, but when they told me I could open for Pat Benatar, I said, hit me with your best shot.
That's awesome.
True story. Coworker of mine got the vaccine, had temporary Bell's palsy from it. Believe it or not.
See? That. What? That could have been me.
Yeah, you just never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Well.
Oh my God! Is he okay now?
She. It's she. And
is she okay?
Yeah, it was temporary. It lasted a couple weeks, but it went away. Yeah. But
a couple weeks?
Yep. Sure did.
Like what is in that thing? It's like there's so much we don't know about
Very true.
COVID and the vax, and it's like what?
Mm-hmm.
The crazy stuff like you hear about. It's like I don't even know, man.
Exactly. All right, let's move on from that. I want to bring this back to songwriting.
Good idea. You're right. We don't want to.
It gets so controversial. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring this back to songwriting. So your evolution of a songwriter, how have you felt as though that your songwriting has evolved over the years? Do you feel like your songwriting has matured since from its inception?
That's a good question. It's funny because I've always I think just from hearing music, if you're a musical person, you kind of get it. You get the formula. You're like, oh, it's about this long and this is supposed to happen. It is kind of fun when you're a young songwriter and you don't really know the formula and you're just writing, and sometimes it's terrible, but it's also kind of unique and cool. But then when you're a professional songwriter, you kind of learn what you're supposed to do and what kind of works commercially, and there's supposed to be an intro that's this long and generally a verse and generally a pre-chorus and generally a chorus and then another verse and another pre-chorus and then a chorus and then a bridge and then a big final chorus. You get the structure, and then then it's all about just honing the structure and trying to say more with less, and so much comes down to production, if I'm being honest. I feel like that makes or breaks the song. Honestly.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I think I read are you also a published author of a book of poems, When the Dogwoods Bloom? Is that you?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that, about your love for poetry, and a little bit about that process of writing that book?
Oh, sure. Yeah, nobody's ever asked me that. Yeah, I love writing poetry. If I'm not writing songs, I'm writing poems. And if I'm not writing poems, I'm writing, just my thoughts. And so that was just a book of poems.
Nice.
I just put it out there when I got pregnant and was at this kind of big moment in my life. I had a lot of feelings. But I also got published in the New York Times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I wrote a story and they they published it like a Christmas or two ago, and that was one of the things I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
I actually have it framed on my wall because I'd always wanted to have a story in the New York Times.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
although it was a little risque though, and my parents weren't thrilled about it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, bring this back to the music. You've been able to cross genres, with your music, and was it your approach to be able to cross different musical genres and not pigeonhole yourself into just one area or a part of the music sound that you've given to your listeners?
Man, you guys ask the best questions.
Oh,
For
thank
real.
you.
Gosh, man, so like thought-provoking and good.
Thank you.
Actually, no, like looking back at my career trajectory, I wish I would have just picked a lane and stuck with it. Like that would have been great. I wish I could just go back to my 17-year-old self and be like, all right, just go with kind of alt indie pop music and stick with that. Sometimes I'm embarrassed at how many genres there are, but you can't take some things down on Spotify if they're from labels.
Yeah.
Like you don't have like that jazz album. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was so young, and it's almost kind of like I'm almost embarrassed now. Like not of the songs, but just like wow. But yeah, I think I'm just someone who's very sensitive to my surroundings, and I kind of soak it in, and so much was influenced by the cities that I lived in, and that's why being isolated in the woods and in Washington for like a couple of years, then I was able to make this album that's cohesive.
I guess isn't that something you can hang your hat on and saying, "Hey, I can be a jazz artist. I can be a folk singer. I can be an indie alt performer as well." I guess when you have the ability to be a chameleon like that, isn't it more beneficial to you to be able to adapt to those different genres instead of saying, "Okay, I'm just this"?
Yes, as a writer, I'm very thankful, and I think it's gotten to take me to a lot of varied, cool experiences in different crowds. In the jazz world, you play for a lot of sophisticated crowds, and like the alt world, you play for like the younger, edgier crowds, and yeah, I still kind of wish let's say you're in the mood for John Mayer, you know what that means, and you put it on, or you're in the mood for Garth Brooks, you know what it means, you put it on. It's like I sometimes wonder, I'm like, do people know what they're gonna get with me? Like, do I have an identity that's clear? I hope so, but maybe if they like lots of genres, then that's perfect.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you think of when artists skip around genres?
Personally, I like it. I know a lot of times, I'm always fascinated by I guess fascinated is not the right word, but when fans, an artist tries to do something different, and they're like, "Why aren't you doing that same first album you did?"
Exactly.
Exactly.
That
well, and I've thought that too. I'll be like, why didn't I like Nora Jones jazz, or what? Why is John Mayer trying to be country? But it's like, I guess it's just like they're artists and they do what they feel like.
Yeah.
Well,
so good for them.
I'm going to take my approach on it is that when it comes to, I feel like a musical group that solidifies being nothing of a certain genre, and that's Fishbone. And because I've seen them multiple times, and they're a ska band, they're a punk band, they're a rock band, they're a metal band, but they have horn section. They can be jazzy.
I've never heard of that band.
Oh, Melody,
you should check it out.
Fishbone?
Yep, we're gonna send you some Fishbone tonight. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yum.
But anyway, back to what I was saying about Fishbone is like and we've interviewed members of Fishbone, and
Did they tell you why they named themselves Fishbone?
We never asked them.
No.
Oh, I'm so curious. I'm sure it's on Google.
Yeah, but anyway, they take pride in being They call themselves Nutmeg.
Really?
Yeah, so it's really cool.
They call themselves what?
They call their genre Nutmeg.
Nutmeg?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I love that. Is nutmeg a little bit of everything?
I guess. I don't know. I'm not a baker.
Oh, I figured it was just like something from a nut. I don't know. That's good. I'm gonna research that now too. Yeah, I've called myself genre agnostic. My cousin coined that term.
Yeah.
She's like a music journalist, and she's like, she just thought of it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm genre agnostic.
Very good. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, one of the other songs I listened to today is "Bridges," a song you worked with Burt Bacharach. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, that was so cool. 'Cause my mom, she likes music, but she's not like a real like sentimental gal. Yeah. But she always just absolutely loved Burt Bacharach and the Carpenters. And so, you know, I think she always was worried about, oh, you're a songwriter, like maybe you might want to get a real job, like, you know. And then when I told her that I was at Burt Bacharach's house, that was pretty cool. Yeah. And then when I got to, so we wrote the song, and we wrote lots of songs, and he was one of the kindest, like most hardworking, humble people ever. He was just so kind. And I got to play with him in London, and my mom and dad got to come.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And so my mom got all dressed up, and my dad wore a tux. And when they went backstage to meet him, my mom was like a little girl. Like she was just so excited, and you know, that was such a great feeling. Yeah, so she has like a framed thing of him, you know, he like wrote her a little note on the sheet music, and she has that on her wall.
Oh, so cool. Very cool. Well, you've also collaborated with Kelly Rowland. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that was my first official cut with an artist. So that was years in the making. I mean, I must have done like hundreds of songwriting sessions and turned in so many songs, and you get close, and then finally, like, we got a cut. Me and this guy Sosh. He was this really young kid from London, and we bonded a summer in New York. I'd actually been living in LA, and I had this crazy urge to take a road trip by myself to New York. And I did, and on the way I wrote some songs, and as I was getting near New York, my manager said, I just took a new job, actually. I want to tell you about, I'm going to be working for a publisher, and they're in New York, and I want you to meet with them. And I was like, okay. So I met with Billy Mann, who's a massive hit songwriter, and I played him some of the songs I'd written on the trip, like in the motels, and he's like, okay, we'll give you a shot. Why don't you write with Sosh? He's one of our writers, and we'll see what you come up with. And so we spent like the next like couple weeks. I crashed out of friends, and I was just with Sosh every day. We would just roam around the city and be dramatic and write, and we wrote this one, and it just flowed, and it was special, and that was the one she ended up cutting.
Oh, very cool. Well, we have one last question for you, and then we're running out of our allotted time, so let's get right to it.
Sure.
Ask this question to all of our guests, or 99%. I guess I didn't do it last week, but we'll do it this week. So we need you to put on your rock and roll cap as being an indie rock artist, okay? So the mystery of rock and roll is no longer a thing because of the internet and social media. There is no mystery. There's no mystery of Kiss or Led Zeppelin or any legendary band like that, because everybody's accessible. If we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't be doing this with you tonight. But you know, for you, the artist and the fan, what do you prefer, that mystery and mystique rock and roll once had, or do you like this new age of accessibility?
Oh, jeez. Well, I like them both, but I feel like the ones that really make it now, they still have that mystique somehow. Like, even if they're all over the media, they still have this, like, aura about them. Mm-hmm. Where it's like they only share certain things in a certain light. Yeah. So, but great question. Yeah. Love them both. What about you?
Oh, you know, Jeff and I we're children of the 80s. Yeah. And so, you know.
Oh, yeah. What's your favorite band? Oh, you said Fishbone, but what's
Oh, a favorite?
One
A favorite? You can't ask me what I
like
have a
if you
favorite.
could go back in time and go to one of those shows.
Well, I would like to go see Queen, the original Queen.
Queen?
I went and saw the Adam Lambert version, but because I want to knock it off my bucket list, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a hard one because,
yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm 51, but Jeff and I are both 51 years old, so I would have to go back to the 70s and go see Zeppelin. And go see Zeppelin live. That would be my dream.
Ooh, yeah, that would be awesome.
It's hard to narrow it down like that because Jeff and I have seen almost everybody that we've wanted to see.
What's been the most fun you had at a live show ever?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh man, I mean, I've had quite a few, but one recently, I guess it was a few years ago now.
Fish? Was it Fish?
Well, no, the band Bush. Gavin Rossdale came here.
Yeah.
They were in at our, they were at our local arena or whatever, and he actually got up and like during one of the songs and like walked up into the stands and walked all the way around the like perimeter of the. He's high-fiving everybody as he's going. I'm just like, how cool,
Well,
wow, that is really cool.
And so Jeff and I are kind of different that way. I'm of an experience going to a concert where I like the environment of the crowd, and I like it where hey, am I going to get out of this thing alive tonight? Because I like an ornery crowd. So I would have to say best concert I've ever been to as far as ornery crowd would be 1991. I was 19 years old. Saw Metallica on the Black Album, third show in the tour of a 2-year tour. Yeah. It was,
oh my God.
It was unreal. It was absolutely unreal.
Oh my gosh.
So
did you come out with a black eye?
Oh, funny that you asked that. So I was with a group of guys. We drove up there together. It was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. My good friend got a black eye, and then I got elbowed in the jaw, and I couldn't open up my mouth for 2 days.
Oh wow.
What? Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I like environment.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a swell time.
Yeah. It was fun. When you're young and you're full of piss and vinegar when you're 18, 19 years old, That's just,
yeah.
So
good times.
Well, anyway, we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
I think we covered it all.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. You guys have been awesome. This was a great interview. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much. Well, this is how things are going to work out. So look for this to come out like, I don't know, the first part of January or mid-January. And Jeff, the editing wizard, will clean up all of our boogers, make this sound fantastic. But yeah. So then when it comes out, please share wherever you possibly can.
Okay, I definitely will.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
It was a real honor, and I'll text you some fishbone. Does that sound good?
That sounds awesome.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Everybody take the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. They roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.